Yeah, so hi everyone. Thanks for joining. And this video is all about what are the stereotypes and myths in tech space. Like we have Diana here. Hi Diana. And
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
we have a lot of participants coming in, and thanks for that. And this session is all about uh, a mythbuster session. You can call it anything. It can be educative session, or it can be you can get inspired by what we are telling and what we are sharing, and we'll discuss our transition from how we are into this tech space. And Diana, she's really great, and she has come from a linguistics background, and now she's going into DevRel. So how inspiring is that one? So someone into linguistics can also grab something in tech. So people think that it's hard, it's not easy, but yeah, it is easy, believe me. And she worked in Twillio uh, and what was that?
Grafana.
Tell about yourself. Grafana, yeah. You worked in
Yes.
Twillio and Grafana and pursuing masters. That's really amazing. And so we will be exposing some things. It is only based on our own interest and our own perspective. So don't take it seriously if you feel that it's wrong. So it's all about perspective, and we talk about something which we faced in our journey, right? It might not be the same for all of you, but yeah, stay tuned for the entire session. We'll be talking about tech workers, how the culture is evolved, and how skills are required, what kind of skills will lead to a job, or about the culture and about the society, what society feels about tech, lot of stuff. So we have not prepared, like we have not scripted this or something, but we want it to be as natural as it can be. And yeah, over to you, Diana.
Oh yeah, thank you. And thank you, Joshua, for being super flexible right before this stream. If you are listening to it now, we are recording on Zoom because I completely crashed APL's website. I don't know how I did that, but literally a few minutes before we were going live, Joshua just disappeared and I was just kind of sitting there. And so thank you to our two guests who are on here right now, or two audience members. Thank you so much for being here. I know one of them is from Austria, so that's exciting. Yeah, so Joshua, if you don't mind just going off of like some myths or stereotypes that you have heard in the industry, and I guess I can comment on those.
Awesome. But before that, tell about yourself, like how.
Oh yeah, sorry, I completely forgot. I thought you gave like a really good introduction to me. So I was like, yeah, that's me. That's pretty much my life in a nutshell. But like Joshua mentioned, I came from a linguistics background and graduated from UCSD in 2018. And I took a year doing biotechnology work. And unfortunately, I just didn't have the technical skills to get into the technical side of that. I wanted to do more engineering related work, but not having the skills and not being in a space to be able to learn that, I decided to go back and get my master's. So I moved to Seattle and I'm now at Northeastern University, where I have one semester left, graduating in May 2022. If any of y'all want to come to my graduation meet and greet there. No, I'm just kidding. Like, don't come. There's a global pandemic, everyone. Everyone's staying home. So that's my take on that. But yeah, pretty much that is me. Yeah. And this is my first podcast. So thank you for tuning into that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And to add that, you are a DevRel, you worked as a DevRel, and you also are doing something with the mental health and yoga. You're also doing that as well.
Sorry. I feel like these are all very like normal facts about me, but I'm really surprised you remember them. So thank you. Yeah, so I'm actually a yoga instructor in training and a grad student in crisis. but I missed all that. I'm also doing DevRel. I'm trying to get into the field a little deeper. When I was at Twillio, I was doing developer education, which was a really good experience. Like, not gonna lie, it was an amazing experience. But I didn't get to do much advocacy work. But with the little advocacy work that I did get to do, I enjoyed it so much that I decided that I was going to pivot and go for DevRel. And so I've been more active in the DevRel community. Last week was DevRelCon. So I was on staff for that, and that was a lot of fun. So I met a lot of like really amazing people there, and they've actually given me the nudge to get content out there. So here I am.
Awesome.
Yes,
awesome.
Ramon, it was a blast.
Yeah, thanks for commenting and engaging. I think there are a lot of people joining over here. I think a platform is also fixed, but we will continue here because we have started.
Yeah, why not?
And so coming to the discussion, we are talking about stereotypes and myths in tech. So tech has been an evolving space. I mean, the tech in 2010 is different from what 2021, right? So it is evolving so fast because of culture, because of society, because of technology. Like, all the factors are influencing the tech space. So there is something which is a common point in every country, that like elders used to say, I mean the seniors in tech used to say, that if you are not from a tech background, you cannot get a job in tech, or you cannot enter tech. But now it's completely different. Tech is more like community driven. You can learn from the community, you can involve in the community, and you can learn every day for free. Before, I think people used to learn things by joining the courses, by joining boot camps, and maybe by reading books, most importantly, because internet was not that accessible. But now it's all easy and it's simple, and anyone who has some interest can get into any role, and that's what we are talking about. So what is your perspective with that, Diana?
Yeah, so I was just thinking back when you said 2010, I was probably like 4 or 5 at the time. And for sure, I don't remember anyone having like even a touchscreen phone. I think, were razors a thing back then? I don't even remember. But pretty much technology was very different. I remember also computers were like really fat and huge and super loud. And I don't think we could even like make a phone call and run the internet at the same time. So these are just super different. Things are a lot slower. Thank you everyone who's complimenting my mug. It's a giant banana mug that says I've got a big banana with a monkey at the bottom. Yeah, so technology, very different back then. I'll get to how my mom actually studied CS, and I'm sure it was very different back then for her as well. But
yeah, that's great. So your mom has studied CS. So does her experience add something or do you have any comments, or did you ever get some suggestions from your mom that you can go here, you can get that?
I actually didn't. It was quite the opposite. So my mom got a degree in CS. I wish I talked to her a little bit more about that. I probably will after the session, but like she got a degree in CS and she ended up not pursuing computer science. She didn't even get into tech. She actually ended up going into education, which wasn't something that was completely supported in like an Asian household, or at least in my family. And so like abandoning your degree, I guess that's not a very common thing back then, or even now. Some people, I mean, it is a very common thing now, but in terms of like being supported for that, I think that a lot of people still need that kind of support. But when I told her I was going to get into computer science, she was actually really worried for me. And it was just out of like love and care. It wasn't like she didn't think I could do it, but she was just like, oh, are you sure? It's really hard, blah, blah, blah. But here I am.
That's great. Thanks for sharing. And yeah, things have really changed a lot. Like there is a lot to talk about these things. It will go on and on. So every point will have an individual session, if I'm not wrong. So it's really vast now and really different for everybody. Like CS today, it's different for different countries and different cultures and different departments. So it's a lot to talk about. But I would like to start with a myth, which is one of the most famous one. Tech workers are old and mostly they are white males. So what are your thoughts about it?
Ironically, my school is almost a 1-to-1 ratio of males and females. So I think we're doing a pretty good job. They're doing a pretty good job of diversifying that. I do have to say there are a lot of very intelligent white male tech workers out there, but for example, Joshua and I are not old male workers in tech. And so that by itself is already debunking it. And I think, yeah, I've met a lot of really brilliant women in tech as well. And I think over time, more and more girls are being inspired to pursue tech, realizing the potential that they have to go into it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's also adding another myth, right? You said women are into tech, and many feel that only men can drive the tech space. So what are your thoughts about that?
Ironically, all my managers in almost every company, actually, yeah, all my managers in every tech company I've worked at have been women. Wow, I didn't really think about that until now. So like we are making strides. It is unfortunate that there are moments where I feel like they do feel like they have to like prove themselves more and validate their existence in a leadership role, which like I wish wasn't a thing, but it is right now. And hopefully over time that'll go away.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for sharing. And that's how we see, even I think there was a great gender gap, I can say, for women and men. Like earlier, only men used to get into tech. And now as internet and the knowledge is universally accessible, right? So that can be one of the factors. And apart from that, there's a great community which have different programs for women, which is encouraging women to come into the tech space and learn some skills, get some jobs. So that's how I think that's a great initiative which most of the organizations are taking. But yeah, so I think that's enough for this point. And I have another point which talks about which is interesting. You need to be fluent in coding to enter into the industry.
I mean, like for sure, 100%, I did not know how to fluently code when I started grad school. I don't think I even had a project in my GitHub. I don't even think I had a GitHub when I started school. Yeah, so definitely don't need to be super fluent. Like there are some people who are super blessed with parents who have started them off coding from a very young age. And unfortunately, I wasn't one of them, but it's never too late. Like I know people who have joined boot camps or got into my school and master's program, and they are a lot older than me. I'm actually one of the younger ones in my school. So yeah, like for sure, you don't need to be fluent in coding. It's more of a sense if you take the time to practice it.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, definitely. You answered both the questions. One is people who start coding late, like maybe few months ago, but still they can do better and equally better like others, right? So that I have seen a lot. And it's more about practicing more than learning a language. Language is just like a medium to put in your skill, right? It's like normal language. English is a language, and you try to communicate, share knowledge. So you in coding you put the logic in different language. So it's kind of the same logic. So I think that's great. People really think that. I mean, at least in India, I have seen people asking me, "Oh, you don't code, but how did you get into tech?" Right? So I used to code before, but I stopped now because my role is developer relations and talking to the community and engaging, understanding the developers and all the stuff. But people generally ask, how did you get without coding? So there are a lot of ways to contribute. So even in open source, right, Aviel is trying to evangelize and create content around the projects we have onboarded. So yeah, non-code contributions mean so much. That is actually a driving force, non-code contributions, right? So if you are just coding and no one is talking about it, then you are coding for yourself but not for others. So if you want your product or if you want your application to be used by people, then we need someone who talks about it, who is good at understanding code and understanding people. So I think that is more important for every organization. We should have some people who have little knowledge about coding and who love the culture and all, but at the same time they have to be good with the writing and speaking skills. So that's why we have roles like DevRels and community managers, and we have a lot of I mean, it's again a huge space, a different topic. I don't want to divert the entire conversation, but yeah, that's, I think I wanted to add my thoughts over there. Yeah, thanks Raman. I think you have added something over here. You have recommended a book. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
We'll check it out. Yeah, definitely.
No worries.
Yeah. And yeah, you are free to share any information in the chat. I mean, if anyone has any questions or any thoughts with what we are speaking, you can definitely add your own thoughts over there. And yeah, I just want to continue our conversation here. And so you came from a linguistic background. So
yes.
I think around 19 and 20 you started in linguistics, and maybe you have graduated by then. Now you are 25. So what was the driving force, or what ignited you to get into tech? What was the initiation for you?
I was a graduated student with a degree, and I was poor. And so, I mean, honestly speaking, that's pretty much sums it up. I wasn't making very much at the time, and I was also a contractor. So job stability was pretty much non-existent for me at the time. I won't get into this too much, but I actually originally was going to pursue speech pathology instead of like computational linguistics, as I later on try to get into. But with that, I realized it just wasn't really my jam. And so I decided that I should really look into an alternative. And tech really stood out to me. Like, I was already in the space for it. I worked at a biotech company, but I just wasn't doing the actual like technical skills. And so I did a little bit more research, because initially I thought that it was just too late for me to get into coding and tech. Like, you know, it's one of those things that you just tell yourself because that's what you hear initially. And I thought it was way too late to change a major. Like, I've already graduated, you know? And so, yeah, exactly. It's absolutely never too late, as mentioned in the comments. But I started on, I think it was Code Academy, and it was just a very like interactive and visual way of going about it. And so I thought it was interesting, and then I just kept on building on top of that until I actually found an alternative to like a boot camp or just self-learning, like, or community learning. And that's where I found this program that actually bridges people who don't have a technical background and provide that for them. So you take like a year to ramp up to what everyone else has been learning, and then you delve right into it. But I think that like money was a big factor for me, mainly because I had student loans already, already. And like, say what you want, some people are going to be like, oh, money doesn't buy you happiness. But when you have as many student loans as I do, I mean, I still do, but I'm a lot happier knowing that I will be in a more comfortable space to pay that off. And so, yeah, like eventually I'll be super happy once those are paid off. But for sure, like, I think that's a huge driving factor for me, just knowing that like I'll have that kind of stability and know that I can take care of myself, so I don't live with my parents until I'm like 50.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think that was really interesting and inspiring at the same time, because the factor of money is different thing which most of the people don't talk about, and I really appreciate that you are sharing. And definitely things will get better, I hope. And
Yeah.
I mean, coming to the question, right? People are have some inspiration or have some starting point. So that's the reason I asked you. So the starting point for everybody these days is community and community learning or self-learning, which you mentioned, right? Can you explain how like self-learning or community learning helped you apart from Code Academy? Because Code Academy is a great platform. Initially, I think in my first year of my graduation, I think I used Code Academy for some reason. But yeah, it's a great platform. But apart from that, can you talk about community learning? How did it really help you?
Yeah, not even just with coding, but insight within the community has really helped me. Not being a part of the community initially, you don't know anything. Like, you don't know who's who, you don't know who to go to for certain things. I think especially in a role like DevRel, it's really niche, but at the same time, a lot of people know each other. And it started small and it's getting larger, but at the same time, like I didn't know very much about it or like the people involved in it. I just know that there are certain people who know each other and there are certain people known for certain things, but like I'm completely unaware of that. So once I started actually meeting people within the community, they told me like, oh yeah, this person came from here, they worked on this, or like this person built that. And it's just stuff that like I'll never learn in a textbook and I'll never learn by going to school, because there's no actual class that teaches you how to become a good DevRel, or there's no like actual how to become a software engineer or how to become a PM class, or at least not from my university. Like there's a lot of super helpful courses that can definitely help me reach those points, but the community and talking to people is actually what really drove me to understand what I needed to do personally and how to shape my personal goals. And right after this call, I actually have a call with someone from the community to really hone in on that as well. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah. To sum up the whole thing, there is no one way of learning. So there are different ways of learning depending on what your skills are and what your future goals are. I mean, the roadmap should be dynamic for everybody. Like if your friend is following a roadmap, it doesn't mean that if you follow the same roadmap, you will be successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we all learn differently. Yeah, that's true. And everyone has different ways of perceiving things and learning things all together. I think that's great, and that's the best part of this community. Like everyone have different ways of learning. We try to observe and we talk with them and we get the awareness, at least the whole idea of what we should do. Like it's not just copying someone, we are trying to do it ourselves, getting motivated and getting inspired by people. That's great, and thanks for sharing that. And one more question. It's not a question, but you were like into the beauty, what do we call it, the modeling as well before?
Oh, so I used to do pageants. So that's another, I guess, fun fact about me. I don't know how fun that is. But during my gap year between the time I graduated from undergrad and the time I started my master's, I actually did a pageant, and I did one third year of my undergrad as well. And I did them actually to one, I was like moved to a new space, and so I wanted to meet other people, and so that was a good way for me to meet people. But also I was like in a financial crisis. I don't know why. It like at my age at those times, I shouldn't have been worrying about the things that I did. So like it was good that I thought about them, but I just always thought I was in a crisis. Like I just always think I'm in a crisis. I'm one of those people. But really, I'm okay. And so I did beauty pageants just to earn money for school tuition. I did like 2 or 3 scholarship pageants, and through that there weren't very many girls in tech. I think for most of my pageants there weren't any women in tech, and so being one of the outliers there was pretty cool. But yeah, I did pageants for a while, which does debunk the myth that like all CS people are grimy and gross and don't shower and eat junk food and live in a library. Admittedly, I did go to school with some people who like practically lived in the library and just coded all the time. Yeah, you like get to one certain section of the library and it starts smelling a little funky. But I promise you, it's not like that for everyone in CS. But I'm not gonna lie and say that like those people don't exist.
Yeah, that's true. That a lot of people think that people in CS are not multi-talented or they don't really participate in other programs. Like you have been into different things like pageants, and you have been into yoga, you have been into like linguistics, like you have touched every area you can. But generally people think that CS students do code, read books, and they have a bad routine, bad sleep time, and what else, like everything we have been hearing in comics. There are a lot of memes as well, like people start posting about coders, which 99% of memes are not true, right?
Yeah. It's just all comic.
Yeah, it's all comic. But people who don't know about coding, when they read it, they think that it's true, right? So that's why we are here to like decrypt everything which is going on there, like but yeah, thanks for sharing about that experience. You have been into different things, different fields as well. And don't try, my suggestion is like whenever you are going into tech space, don't think that you should not do anything other than tech. Like keep exploring, because everything is a learning for you, at least till 25 or till 30 years of age. Like everything adds value to what you are doing, right, in some or the other way. So I'm not saying that if you go to beauty pageants you can get some skills in tech, no, but there will be something, maybe through the experience of people while exploring, you might learn something, some principle, you can apply it in different areas of your life. So I just wanted to add. And
for me, I'm actually,
any thoughts?
So for me, I'm actually trying to bridge my gap between tech and beauty pageants. Like for me, initially it was a way for me to meet people. It was a way for me to just like have fun. I love dressing up's cool. But I also want to bring tech back into beauty pageants. So I don't want to give too much away because I don't have final thoughts on it, but I am planning to compete one last time before like I age out, and my platform will be Women in Tech. So I actually want to make my talent portion related to tech. So you can just stay tuned for whatever I come up with. I'm still brainstorming. If you have any suggestions, I am completely open to that too.
Okay, yeah, sure. All the best for that. And
thank you.
You can follow Dan on Twitter, or you can follow us anywhere, and we will be also coming up with a lot of events. But yeah, we are not closing this session. We have few more minutes. I guess you can ask questions or anything if you have any thoughts or any myth or anything which you personally realize that this is not true.
So I heard a bunch of people are just calling in and tuning in from like all over the world. So Joshua, it's like almost midnight over there for you, right?
Yeah, it's
My
12.
goodness.
Yeah, in the
Oh my goodness. So when we were like coming up with a time to do this podcast, I was like, oh, so like what time is blah 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 for you? And it was some unholy hour. I think you told me at one point, you're like, oh, that's 4 a.m. for me. I was like, okay, yeah, let's not do it then. So we're just trying to come up with a good time, but he's been super flexible and accommodating to like my schedule as well. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, and most of the tech events are around this time, right? Most of the tech events are in the morning in America, at night in India. So we are used to it. So it was not a big deal. But yeah, thanks for that. And yeah, to continue the session, the burning issue is people with soft skills think that they cannot get into the technical space. So our time zone isn't for us. Yeah. So there is no time zone for Aviel. So
No, quite literally, but at the same time, I wish I could just tell all of you to go to sleep. Earlier when we were having that platform issue, like backend got on it right away, and that's why I got fixed within a few minutes before, like after we went live. And part of me just wants to be like, go to sleep, but also if I were to tell everyone to go to sleep at normal times, I don't know, I think the tech industry would probably crash and burn. So maybe don't listen to me, but I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, backend team fixed it. I think in 10 minutes they fixed it, but it was 11:30 at that time. They were still working. So imagine how dedicated our team is. Yeah, just kidding. Like, we don't have any time, like, to be honest. Like, whenever some issue comes up, we are ready to take that. If any meeting or any live session comes up, you're always there. So yeah. So coming to our discussion, right? So
yes, about soft skills. How like people with soft skills alone.
Yeah.
I would have to say, so I think the myth was like, oh, if you only have soft skills, then you can't make it into tech. But no, honestly, soft skills is part of the requirements to get a technical role now. I've sat in on hour-long behavioral interviews where they just want to confirm that I am a normal person. Well, I think that's a bit of an understatement, like normal person, but like being able to actually communicate, because you can really irritate someone if you're unable to communicate like an issue and you're in tech. Like I see that happening quite often. And I don't imagine someone who completely lacks soft skills being able to make it in tech, because a lot of people will be very angry at you, I feel. Yeah, that's my take on it. I don't know, but that's just me. So
yeah, I think it's like, again, it's different for different people again, right? Some people are very good at technical skills, but they fit in soft skills and they're not good technically. So that's how I divided two different roles in tech, which are coding and non-coding. So maybe we can talk about that again. So coding jobs, I think it's software engineer, but even in software engineers, I've seen that remote companies and companies which require continuous communication, especially the product companies, right? They ask for soft skills as well. So definitely communication is the key for everything, and skills come along the communication. So yeah, I was told once that soft skills are a misnomer, especially because of how much they are taken for granted in institutional areas of tech. Yeah, definitely. And you can comment on that.
I personally feel like the best engineers that I've ever worked with are people who can actually communicate the issue in a non-pretentious way. I think that also adds to it. And since we started, this whole COVID thing and working remotely, even communication through like Slack or text, like just text communication rather than just verbally face to face. Like sometimes I'm on a call with someone where I don't even see their face, so I don't even know how they're actually feeling about the situation. I don't know if this has happened to you since the pandemic started, but certain people just text differently. And when I started working with like older people in tech, they would talk to me on Slack and end everything with a period, or they would say like caps K, like the letter K, and send a period. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did I upset them? Did I offend you? I am so sorry. You know, or they say something and they end it with dot dot dot, and I'm like, oh no, like, and I'm reading back at my messages trying to see like, oh my gosh, like what did I do wrong? Or whatever it is. And the next time we like hop on a call, they're like, hi, how are you doing? And I'm like, oh, so you don't hate me, you know? So I think learning that and just knowing how to navigate that is also super interesting and important. Yeah, just go and huddle, I wish. I wish it was always that easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Like, it sometimes confuses us that what the other person understood. And yeah, so soft skills right now are required, but in those days the things were different. So I don't want to comment because we were not born in that stage or in that age, so we cannot really comment on that. But right now, if you want to pursue something into tech, I suggest that you have to be equally strong, or you have to be a little strong in your soft skills. That will definitely add a lot of value. And even if you want to grow in future, right, from one role to another, soft skills matter a lot. Whenever even let's say if you want to update something to your manager and you did something but you cannot really communicate what you did in a good way, you cannot present it in your weekend reports or presentations. So then the manager will think that, oh, this guy is not working. So maybe that can happen. But yeah, in big companies it happens. Like in small companies we can easily monitor people, but if you are in a giant company, you have to definitely stand out to get promoted and all the things. So soft skills really matter in that case. And another thing which is really important, which should be the first one to discuss, but we are discussing it now. So again, university degrees are direct path to jobs. Like, what about it? Like universities and jobs, do they align or match together?
So I wish it was that easy. Like, oh, here's my degree, here's my fancy, super expensive piece of paper. Go ahead and give me a job. Like, it's not like that at all. If you are interviewing in tech or just any role, like I don't want to just say tech, but just for any role, it's a very arduous process. And it's not just this piece of paper alone. Like some companies expect you to have a bachelor's at minimum. So if that is a minimum requirement, like how do they decide on who to hire? Like if everyone who had a degree got a job, then that would be great. But unfortunately it doesn't work out that way. And I'm not going to deny the fact that having or working on my master's has gotten me quite a lot of attention from some recruiters. But at the same time, I have gotten hundreds of rejections from companies. There was one phase, I want to say last year, where I was interviewing for so many places or just applying for places. And I would make it like a streak of how many rejections I got that day. And it was like supposed to be super lighthearted. I know that sounds like super grim and sad, but one day I got like 4 and I was like, okay, today I got 4 rejections. And then I would meet up with my friends and be like, how about you guys? Like, how many did you get? And they're like, oh, I got like 2 rejections today. So rejection still happens regardless of you having a degree or not, or even working on a degree. Like, I wish it lined up that well, but it doesn't.
Yeah, and also it depends on the company you're applying, right? So
yeah.
And I think startups generally encourage people to be creative, because when you are in a startup, you have to be creative. You have to be like get new ideas and different aspect from different fields. So at AVL we don't have any such thing where you need a degree, right? Even though if you don't have a degree, if you go to Angel List, it says that you can show with your skills or something like that. We can ignore the degree. So there's a line.
I love
I'm
that.
not getting it. So we are trying to, like every startups try to get the creative talent. I think Raman has some thoughts. So yeah, you can type it.
Yeah.
He's typing.
Oh my gosh. So Ramon actually got offered a junior salary despite having 8 years of experience because he doesn't have a bachelor's. And I'm just going to say right now, I have seen this man present, and he has a plethora of knowledge that no degree will ever give you. Like, there's nothing that I could learn from. No. He's saying he's not fishing for compliments, but I have to say, like, going to DevRelCon and watching him speak, I don't think that there is a single class in my university that can teach me the skills that he has. And so I think that's just absurd. There's actually a company that offered me an internship that was unpaid, but they were gonna pay me with experience. And I was like, I can go somewhere else and get experience and money, you know? And so it's just strange, like what kind of value certain companies put on people. And I'm not a huge fan of some of them, but I bet AVL does take care of their employees, and that's why you seem as happy as you are. Like every time I talk to you, and even about work, you're like, no, like it doesn't feel like work to me. I really enjoy this. And so I think companies that take care of their employees are probably the best ones.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, thanks for sharing, Raman. So you were talking about like DevRelCon and other experiences. They add so much of value, and it can be of limited time, let's say 3 days conference, or like there are some conferences which are paid, like in-person conferences, $500, $1,000, but people actually fly to attend that conference because the value they get there is not available in any university or anywhere, right? Any boot camp or anywhere. So that's the value. I once read someone on hiring. We are looking for senior developers, but we hire them while they are junior. Okay, that's
yeah, see, it just doesn't always line up. I feel also there's like that meme that's like we require 10 years experience, and you see all the little kids with construction hats and they're like literally babies. Those people don't exist, okay? Actually, no, they do. That's a lie. I know there are some people who have started very, very young, but I'm not one of them. So let's start with that. Yeah, it is super important to invest in the growth of our devs. Like I was really surprised to hear that in conference, just because I get it. Like there was a point where I kind of had to debate my personal value, because I was like, oh, but like I'm not as good of a coder as them, or like I don't even have a master's yet, or whatever it was. And so I started debating my value. And when this guy was like, oh yeah, we can pay you an experience, and I was like, how much experience? But at the same time I was like, no. In the back of my head I knew it was a red flag. And then I just cut that interview short. And I want to remind everyone that it is totally okay for you to cut interviews short when it's not going to be a mutual fit for both people. It's disrespectful of like everyone's time. He was also like, oh, so I mean, I have the time for it. Do you want to continue this interview? It's no. Like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's strange and like funny at the same time, but I don't know. But it is very important to value the work in terms of money, because though money doesn't make it happy, but it feeds you, it clears your loans, or at least does something, right? So
Or
it's
it
not
takes
the
care of
only
your family,
factor.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely, maybe while you are early as a student, you get funded by your parents or your government. You need not focus on money aspect of things, but as things pass, you should focus both experience and money. So initially, maybe experience is the asset for you, but later money adds on to what you're doing. So
Yeah, and I also want to add, like, there's no problem with getting support from your parents or like the government for money. Like, some people think that, oh, just because you don't have to worry about those things, like you don't work as hard. No, that's not the case at all. I have people who've been very blessed and fortunate to have like their parents supporting them, but I see them make it in these roles and they give back and they actually end up like caring for their parents in the future. And I think that just that alone is just incredible. And I think it's awesome that some people are able to just worry about school. So again, like, if money is not your highest priority, like, don't let anyone tell you that you're not working as hard as someone else.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's really true, and it actually sums up the whole thing. And coming to the same question, I mean, not everyone has same opportunities, of course, but everyone has different potentials. So you can play with the potential and you can grow together, maybe even bigger than people who have the opportunity, right? So there is another myth, right? So high paying jobs have poor culture. What is that sound?
Oh, I'm so sorry. So I moved into this lovely apartment a couple months ago, being told that it was a very quiet neighborhood, not many car sounds, street sounds, anything like that. And literally like a month into my lease, they started building an apartment building like right next to mine. So like, yay far, there's construction happening, and I'm so sorry. But if anyone wants to be my neighbor, they're building.
No problem. I think we are just closing up. I mean, we have 5 more minutes, but yeah. There's one question I want to take it. Like, what do you think about high-paying companies and their culture? So, are they equally weighed? That more they pay, the better the culture, or how does that actually work?
No, I wouldn't say so at all. I mean, as someone who I'm not gonna say that I am like the 100% source of truth, but just based on where I've been at a pretty sizable company that really takes care of their employees. Like, I was getting $30 a month on books. I was getting like a monthly allowance. I was getting $50 to get my internet or phone bill paid, and then an extra 50 for like wellness, which is like, I can spend it on anything like well-being related. It could be on like a spa, or like getting my hair done, or getting my lashes done, or some people used it to like buy part of their Apple Watch. And I was at a pretty good company at the time, and so I don't think that like being at I'm sorry, what was the myth? Was it high-paying jobs have poor culture? Yeah, so if that was the case, then like definitely not. But I've also have quite a few friends who have done their internships at even higher paying companies, and they might not have as many perks, or they do have perks, but they're just completely overworked there. And so it's really a balance, and I think it's tough to tell during your interview what it's going to be like. So I always try to get some kind of insight from people working within the company without them sounding like they're like a cult member of their job, But for the most part, I would say that like, no, there isn't a one-to-one correlation. There are some really small companies that really take care of their employees, and there are some small companies that don't, and same for large.
Yeah, Raman has something to say.
Yeah, Ramon says, one thing to always bear in mind when interviewing, it's not just them interviewing me, it's also me interviewing them. And I love that you brought that up, because I was literally in an interview not too long ago where I didn't feel like I had an opportunity to be like, hey, by the way, this is not for me. Can we just like, and just, it was just like, boom, boom, boom. Like, okay, we asked you questions, and all they said was like, oh, we need to see if you meet our standards. and like, oh, we need to see if you're capable of doing this. Oh, we have to evaluate for this before we move you forward. And then after my like behavioral part of it, they were like, okay, so the next step is that you're going to, and I was like, wait. I didn't even say I wanted to go to the next round, you know? And so thankfully I cut in and I was like, hi, so I actually don't feel like this role really lines up with my personal goals. And so blah, 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 blah. And then they clarified, and then I was like, okay, still, that doesn't change my mind. But
yeah, I think that's true. And definitely you need to choose the companies which aligns with your future goals and which aligns with everything which you are doing. So even though they pay more, if it is opposite to what you are doing, doesn't mean that you have to go for the interview, because later you may suffer. It may cause a negative impact with your personal life and with your work-life balance, if though the money is coming in, you're not happy. So in that case, and you may not continue for so long because you are frustrated for some time. So it happens a lot, and I have heard from a lot of people in developer community facing this. Recently I started evangelizing about developer health and mental health for developers. So I was talking about the same thing. You have to choose the company which exactly aligns. Take your time in choosing the company, but do it something better for yourself first, and interview the company, like what exactly is happening inside. So you ask questions. Many people don't ask questions to the HR or to the CEO that what's happening. I just want to know what's going on inside, so that you may have a pre-idea before you go for the next rounds and you get to a conclusion where should I get into this or not. That should not happen, right? So I think that sums up the whole session. I think we planned a lot, but it was quite interesting. We chipped in with a lot of ideas with the audience, and especially Raman. You are like, we can do a session with you, maybe, Raman.
Oh my gosh, 100%. You need to. Sorry, I don't want to force him into this, but if you could get him, like 100%, I would be there in the comments, just as supportive as he has been for me. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Evan is adding something. So at Aviel, first I do interview. Second round interview is done by the whole team to check if the candidate fits the culture, work culture. Weird, but I did try that. People exchanges right ideas there. So yeah, that's true. When you have a clear picture of different aspects, right? The different personas. So that's really interesting. What we do at Aviel is more like, we don't do like a traditional test. You write this test and come back. Based on your score, you will get a job. That's not the right way. So it's more about, the more you communicate, the more better you get with the person, right? So that's what we generally follow at Aviel. Yeah, and I think that's how it should work. And definitely there's a Twitter thread we are running for this one, because it's a huge discussion. I'll share the Twitter thread which we are trying to discuss, and you can add your own thoughts over here.
Oh, thank you. Yes, and follow
Diana,
me at Diana's Oyster.
If that's the case, if that's the link, right link.
Yes, let me make sure. Oh yeah, we can totally go off of this.
Yeah, I think Raman, I have followed you on Twitter. Yeah, we can definitely do a session. Raman is head of open source at codec.io. So just
and he is also hosting a class soon. So I would 100% recommend you all sign up for that. I'll be there as well.
Awesome. So definitely all the details we'll post it there. You can use the same thread and add whatever you want to share. And we can get Raman and different events we are planning, because people who care about open source are really very less in number. So Aviel is trying to achieve open source sustainability, which is a big challenge, but yeah, it is possible. So that's what we think. maintainers put a lot of efforts in terms of code contribution and the performance of the project, but because of less interactions and less information available on the internet about the project, people don't really know that this exists, right? So this project is an open source, it is powerful, it is secured, it is performant, but people don't really know. So that's why Avial is trying to help and build a community where you monetize the whole platform by sharing the content. So whatever contribution you do, you gonna get back to you in some or the other way. So that's what we are trying to achieve. We are still in the early stages, but people who are joining first time, like Raman, I just wanted to let you know that this is what we are planning to do, and we are going into the seed stage as well. So definitely more things gonna add up, and insights from all of you will really help us at the moment. So thank you so much. And yeah, I think today we covered a lot of things, I guess.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for having me, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. And I think we have a lot of thoughts. I mean, it was not a debunking podcast again. It was more like our own perspective. It was a real perspective. We didn't really took some random ideas or something. It was based on what we experienced in real life. So it might be different for different people, but we tried to generalize the things as much as we can. So thanks for staying, and definitely I'll share the Discord channel as well, Discord link. Evan, can you share that if possible? I just lost
Yeah, you can go ahead and also share it on my on that Twitter thread if anyone wants to just chime in.
That. Yeah. So we are doing a lot of activities because open source and Discord, there is no server which talks transparently about open source and things which are faced by open source projects. So we are trying to create something for the community. So you can join hands with us, and you can actually engage with the people and try to understand how we can make this better. So yeah, definitely you can join the Discord, and we would really have people and the community is really great there. We are just building up the things, but yeah, it's growing really fast. So yeah, thanks Diana, and definitely we will make this big, and sorry for the events platform. So Krishna was the backend developer who fixed it, so thanks to Krishna, who is also in the call. So yeah, I think we can do more and more events. You can check our platform. There are 2 events coming up with the I think one is in the 18th of November and one is in 19th of November. So both of them are with the maintainers of open source. So one is the maintainer of TypeSense, which is an open source search engine which can load like millions of data in just few microseconds. That's the speed of TypeSense, and it's really performant. And another one is na10.io. So Jan will be the maintainer, and that program is called the Maintainer Spotlight. So if you really find some maintainer who is really interesting, he has a great story, and who is transparent about the things, who wants to share about his project, you can just let us know, and we would definitely love to introduce that project to the community so that community can grow, and maintainers can be can get their problem solved. So simple as that. So definitely not easy, but we are trying to make it possible. So please support us, and this video will be structured and it will be published on YouTube. So it's 17th already in India. So yeah, any final note, anything you want to share before we conclude, like a conclusion of what we discussed and how you want to summarize the message about the myths in tech.
Oh yeah, so pretty much I guess how to wrap this up in a bow. There are a lot of stereotypes, a lot of myths out there about people in tech, about computer science. There's a reason why some of those are stereotypes, because there might be a person or two or a few who do fall into these like stereotypes. But I do want to like mention that not all of them are true, and a lot of the memes that you see are purely jokes. But it's a very diverse industry, and it's only getting more diverse. And so over time, you'll probably notice that there will be a larger range of people, and maybe there will be new stereotypes based on the new people coming in. But overall, don't believe everything that you read or hear about them. Yeah, exactly. It's all up to us as a community to really decide on like what gets out there. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.
I really didn't expect. I thought it was a typo when Joshua asked me to be on this. I was like, no, I'm not. I don't do podcasts. Nope. And he was like, oh no, I'm inviting you. I was like, oh me? Why? So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, like she was unable to believe that I'm calling her to the podcast. Like, so thank you.
Okay,
Thanks
sounds
good. For that.
Thank